It worked.
Well, here we are.
Finally.
Yeah. Balance Your Life podcast. I'm Deb Peterson.
I'm Dee Valente.
And we are going to take a deeper dive into spirituality.
We are really going to start looking at talking about our evolving consciousness, helping people navigate, hopefully, and understanding what that means, what is going on in today's world.
Right. I mean, everybody thinks it's such a chaotic time and that things are really bad and, I mean, general consensus, right? But we have a different idea.
Yeah. The big picture is we're moving into a good place.
Yeah.
There are challenges, but challenges happen so that we can create something better. And that, I believe, is really why we're seeing so much at this time. It's pinnacle.
Right. And then ultimately, hopefully, all our consciousness are raised and that of the planet.
Yes, that is our goal.
That is our goal. So we're going to have some really cool guests on. We've been doing this a long time with our TV show. If some of you know that we have Balance Your Life TV show in the New York metro area. And we are actually going into season 8, which comes out in October.
Which is also incredible.
Yeah, it's so time flies.
It's incredible.
It's 8 seasons.
8 seasons.
Yeah.
What was really cool is that we literally can go into our Rolodex and have amazing guests. So behind the scenes, we're always talking to our friends, and we get
our psychic friends.
We get great information, and we have tremendous conversation.
Yeah, we do.
But on the show, we're not allotted that much time to really get into it. So we'll get a topic, and we'll share that. And the goal here now is to really dive in and let everyone hear the conversations that we have.
Yes, because they are really fascinating and they really encompass a lot of different topics and really give you a greater understanding of how the universe works and, I don't know, everything from angels to law of attraction to divine timing to
soul's purpose. And,
yes.
What to do next? How do I navigate this? How do people connect? We're going to get into it. We're going to ask our guests what takes you there. And Deb and I are going to share a little bit more of our understanding.
Right.
Because we've been doing this a while.
We have. We're going on like 21 years of doing this, being in this industry, so to speak. And I think that we get quite the...
Yeah, I mean, we both live our lives holistically.
Yes.
We live our lives, first and foremost, we walk what we talk, right?
Yep,
so,
we do.
Anyone who knows me, if there's any type of ailment going on, I'm connecting and asking, what do I need here? And, and that's just basically what happens.
I know. Yeah. And so full disclosure now, we just might as well tell everyone. So Deana is a businesswoman, but she is also a closet psychic. And she's actually the one I always go to when I have any questions about business. She always knows. I mean, I am like my top 3 people, I will say. And I do really use them as kind of confirmation, because maybe I know what I'm going to say. Maybe I'm thinking of ideas and where I want to go with it. And then I talk to the top 3 people, and Deana's always like the icing on the cake person, because she's always the one who can add in that business part.
Well, you know what, Deb, I think why, and thank you, but what has been really successful with you is that you kind of facilitate and help people connect, which is a really important energetic.
The Deb Webb, someone told me years ago.
And it's amazing. Yeah. And we're also hoping now that we're going to help anybody who's watching connect to their intuition and their inner knowing.
Right.
So, in the evolving. And I think it's funny you called me the closet psychic, because usually what you call me is the eating, or what is it?
Oh, yeah. So Deana, every time she has to give you a reading or you ask her a question, she goes, hold on, I have to get something to eat. And then she goes and eats whatever's there, like anything. She's like, oh my God, now I'm eating chips, and I didn't want to eat chips, but she has to eat, right?
What's really funny is that's probably the reason I don't do this for a living, because I wouldn't fit in the door.
That's right. Because she always has to eat. And then once she starts eating, tell people how you connect like that, how it's such a different thing.
I don't know. I think it started with me is I always had a knowing, and I didn't realize that it was something different. I just always kind of trusted that. And then at some point, when I began to outwardly ask a question, and then receive a knowing about that, I realized, there's something to the information. And so I trained in some energy work with Dr. Robert Kondarjian many years ago, who is just our favorite person.
And the reason I got into all this to begin with, but that's for another day.
and so I learned how to feel energy and then listen to that knowing. And then working with angel cards or tarot cards, and then I studied SRT for a while with a pendulum, which usually clears past lives.
Yeah, SRT is amazing.
And I use it. Yeah, I use that for this. We will, but use that for this lifetime. So different tools will help you get there. But it's just getting quiet and receiving and listening and trusting, and that's really how you expand upon your abilities.
Yeah, for me, the hardest thing is, or the most challenging, I should say, is okay, I got that. And then my logical mind might say, oh, that can't be possible. I can't think of an example right now, but
that's right. And it's like, no, Deb, you got it.
I did get it. Right. You have to trust it and really try to have the faith in that over the years, working with all these people that are professionals. I mean, really, yeah.
Because I would call Deb and say, Deb, what do you get on this?
But I'm not good at saying, okay, I actually have to be talking, like having a conversation with you, and then something will drop in. I get knowing,
and it's recognizing it. And you've been doing a better job lately recognizing that more and more. And I just want to say something. That receiving and that trusting doesn't just go with psychic intuition. It also goes with creating your reality in life, which we're going to hit upon, as we talk to our different guests. But when you get a great inspiration for something and it feels phenomenal, and then it dissipates because you talk to someone about it or you doubt it, it's the same thing. Trust it and go with it and allow. It's the receiving.
Yeah. Love attraction.
Right.
Yes.
And for things to manifest and to create and to happen. So, and we'll get into that.
Yeah,
I guess sure. As we go through, but it's the same thing. When you get that message, you get that feeling, you get that gut, don't go in this room, don't talk to that person, or go there.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Follow that. Yeah.
That's how it gets louder.
That's true.
It's amped up.
And, don't be like me where you're, sometimes you hear it and then you go, oh, that can't be right. And you go against it. And then later you go, why didn't I listen to myself?
I do that too. I mean,
I think everybody does that to some degree, but yes. Yeah. And I have gotten better over the years, but it is, that's the worst when you have that, why did I listen to my intuition? Yeah. So
it's the recognizing it. That's important.
It really is. So, I mean, we've had the pleasure, like we said, of having so many great people over the years doing so many different,
fascinating.
Yeah, modalities like healers, holistic people.
Things too.
Oh, yes. So at one point we wanted to write a book. So you can't make this up. Yeah, fill in the blank there. Because there's so many crazy things that happen that just seem so if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have believed them.
Exactly.
So should we talk about what we're going to have on today?
I think so. I think that's
okay. So one of our very good friends and one of the best psychics. He's also...
channels.
Yes, he channels. So maybe he'll do a little bit of that today. Let's see what he's... Yeah, and he works with sacred geometry and creates mandalas that are absolutely gorgeous.
They're beautiful. They have wonderful meanings to them. They take in the energy. They change the energy of a space.
Yes.
We can't say enough about it.
No, we can't. And actually, we should let's show some of them because we don't have a bunch.
I think that would be great.
Yeah,
I think that would.
And then I will let Lee tell you what they mean and how that works.
Okay, great. Yep.
So here we are.
Yes.
Our friend Lee is here. Lee Grabarczyk. Yes, the mandala medium, as we like to refer to him. And so Lee, tell us how you got started with everything that you do. I don't know if you want to do the mandala.
Want to do the psychic? Want to do the mandalas?
Well, yeah, how about where did it all start for you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm very lucky because my family has a lot of intuitive functioning. So I came from a group of people that was one of their skills. My father had premonitions as a kid growing up. My mother has that kind of connection. Her parents did.
It's in the genes.
It really is. I mean, I know a lot of people will say, I mean, I don't think that that's required.
No,
but it helps. We get it.
It helps. It helps.
I was a grandmother. I get, yeah.
My grandmother a witch.
Yeah.
Yes, and my mom was very intuitive. We talk about, but we can all get there. But yes, come from a strong family.
Yeah, they're really, really good.
We like to call these dad when we really want.
Yeah, when we're really.
He's like, I'm stumped on that one.
Yeah, he is really, really good.
No, he really doesn't have.
I mean, I've said this before, but one of the things that we do as a family. This is how, and I think it's really great for people who have children who are expressing intuition, to encourage it and to really ask questions about what they're noticing so that it gives them the permission to come forward and talk about it. So I don't feel judged. Because my grandmother, my mother's mother, really felt judged about that. That was to her something that was evil. So she really shied away from it. And it's a shame because in many ways it would really have taken her even further in her life, I feel. So, you know, we have a game that my parents hate to play, but I love to play it. What's on the waitstaff's mind? Well, I can usually get a bead on what's happening with them. So we're at this restaurant, very nice, and I was like, let's play the game. And I was like, I don't want to play that game. I said, yes, you do. You love this game. So and they're like, well, how do they feel? Like, oh, trust me, they're all in. And the guy's like, yes, I want to know. Right. Yes. So he's all in, a younger guy, and my mother starts, and I said to him, I said, you just don't let on, just stone face. I know it's impossible, but do your best. So anyway, so he goes on, and he's listening to us. My mother goes on, I see you working on a motorcycle. I think it's an Indian motorcycle, but I'm not really quite sure, but something like that, repair work or whatever. And so that's kind of the gist of hers. And then I said, you took a class in school in art and design, and it was a surprise because you had to take it because another class that you wanted to take was closed out. So you went, and then it opened up a whole bunch of opportunities for you, and now you're really into it. And then my father said, I see you running in the woods, in a forest. And then the guy's like, so anyway, so I was like, so how do we do? Because this is how, with intuition, it's practice.
Yes.
Practice. Want to be a good artist? Practice. Want to be a good engineer? Practice. Want to be a good doctor? It's all the same. Yeah. So
So, Lee, but before we go there, let me just ask you a question, because you were very supported.
Yes.
With your abilities.
Yes.
Growing up.
Yes.
When did you feel confident? Because I just want everyone to know, a lot of us will hesitate with something or wait for, when you read someone, it's like, it just, the floodgates open and it comes through and it's like, holy cow. So when did you feel confident in your gifts?
So my gifts, I noticed when I was about 4 or 5 and I would go to Sunday Mass, my sister and I would see the auric field around a person's head, like
Yeah.
And when the priest would get animated, sometimes I would notice this with some other people who might notice this when my sister would show it. We would go like, yeah, because we could see it would be like this big blue field around them. And that is kind of a tell, but I want to get back to and then we can go back to how this all began too, because it just kind of gives you a sense of how intuitive families or how intuition can be nurtured. So the guy is then, he's listening and then he said to my mother, I am having a motorcycle. I did pick it up. I am working on it, and it is an Indian motorcycle. He said to me, I did have to take a class, and it was something that I hoping it was getting. Another class was closed out. I took this other art class. I loved it and opened up all sorts of things. But the one that really freaked him out was my father. And he goes, I am on a full ride scholarship as a cross-country runner for forestry.
Oh my gosh. That's great.
Fantastic.
And again,
It was so efficient. It was like, I see you running through the forest.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, it's like he didn't want to even play.
Yeah.
Like, because he
didn't want to play. Well, he knows he's going to blow your away.
I can do it. I know it.
Yeah. He's like, you two are.
I'm not like I'm not running around to people in ShopRite telling them where their ghosts are. It's just like, I got it. I'm fine. So growing up, having this kind of connection. So I'm seeing these kinds of energy fields around people, and I'm having some really deep dreams about people. And my grandmother died when I was 7. I was very close to her, and I would dream about her. And I know a lot of kids go through this. When they lose a loved one, they go through this process of trying to connect with them. So this my grandmother would be in my dream, and I would go down the hall. I remember she'd be in this rocking chair, and we would talk. And I did that up until 18 or 19 years of age. So she never really left. And I want to say that too about people in spirit. They don't ever really go, you know. I mean, there are some that are like, get me out of this 3D crap. I'm out of 10. They're like, and they're gone. But most of the time with people and loved ones, they're there, especially if you want them to be there. So I was really...
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show. But that's how I kind of got...
No, it is.
Yeah, and I would say things. I would talk about that. I would say, you know, I'm picking up on this, or I'm noticing that. So then it started into this whole thing when I was like 12, 13, 14, where I remember reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it was a fascinating kind of opening up for me, you know. And I also started going into a deep dive into numerology. Numerology was fascinating because numerology was kind of the backbone of a lot of the math and a lot of the sacred geometry that I was into later. And then I loved Etch-a-Sketch. I would be on Etch-a-Sketch forever, doing these little renderings and playing and having fun with that. And then that progressed to spirograph, and I would go and do it's like a meditation. So now, and then at school, I hated algebra. I was terrible at it. I hated any of those things. I loved geometry. And there are a lot of people who love algebra. Yeah. Right. But I mean, I loved it. So now I'm combining numeric systems with intuitive functioning, with dream states that are going on and progressing, with the, you know, and then also with this whole like math thing happening. So I'm developing this really vivid world that is expressing itself through dream states. And also through just random thinking. A lot of artists will talk about how, or intuitives will say that they'll have an experience that they can't explain of an idea that comes to them, that they'll have an epiphany about it. I mean, even like Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman was a great poet, but there was a period about 2 or 3 weeks, I think in the 1840s, where all of a sudden his work just blew up. I mean, he went from good to outstanding. There's something about people who have an intention and a direction. Like when I was doing this intuitive interest, the universe was basically saying, fine, you like this, here's more.
Right, and I think that if we would acknowledge that for a second, when Walt Whitman did that, he probably was more in the receiving space.
Yeah, probably.
Time. So he allowed it more, and it came.
Yes.
Very, very key, right? When people are developing themselves, abilities.
And a lot of times it happens on the heels of some catastrophe. Right. It's really interesting how trauma is sometimes absolutely essential to opening up those areas of consciousness, because I've had my own kind of traumas in childhood. And what that did is when the body is working through the 5 senses to figure out reality, and then something unexpected happens, like a car accident or a major illness or some kind of like, who knows what, some other kind of abuse possibly, the body goes into a state where it starts accessing its 6th sense. And it does so in response to the trauma. This is the whole basis of a lot of the X-Men stuff, because they play on those ideas, because they're basically saying it doesn't get activated until the person needs it. And then it becomes a part of that person's vocabulary or part of their expression that then gets woven into them, and then hopefully with family to support it. So I'm getting this intuitive stuff coming in. I'm getting awareness connected to that. I'm knowing things. I'm telling people things. I seem to be able to have an understanding of things that I don't even know why I understand what I understand, which is part of it. And I had a family that was supportive enough to let me, engage in that. That's great. Yeah.
Do you feel that there's something you do, or maybe it comes more easily to you now, but in order to connect?
I relax and let go, knowing that tomorrow will take care of itself is one of my favorite ones if my mind is racing.
Beautiful.
I relax and let go, knowing that tomorrow will take care of itself. All is well. I relax and let go, knowing tomorrow. Space is so important.
That's a good one for Matthew.
Yes. That is so important, because space, this is the thing where people really I could get in trouble with this too. Let's say that I presuppose that I know exactly what it is that's going on in a given moment, and I have it so figured out that I have basically buttoned up all of the other information that is available to me. I'm just going to perpetuate whatever it is that I'm already thinking about or believe in, and just draw a bullseye around whatever it is that I'm saying, because I've already determined what the bullseye is before I've even shot the arrow. So if I follow that,
Yeah,
so that's when I'm doing something, I allow a certain area of my brain or my thinking to not know.
Yes.
I now release what it is that I thought that I know to be true, so I can discover what is.
And then it just flows in.
And then comes
Such your way of meditating.
Yeah, because the key is to be able to be in the experience of it without controlling the experience of it. Because once it becomes controlled, then it becomes ego, and then it's basically cherry-picking information to support some premise that I already know to be true or believe to be true, and then not challenging my thinking in a way that would allow me a greater perspective on what's actually happening in my world. So that part of it really was happening in my early 20s. So I was really in a place of like, wow, like I just noticed that was happening, and what's that all about? And then I started doing these, I started doing readings about things like on intuitive functioning. I read the Seth material by Jane Roberts.
Love that.
Love that. I love that. I love Abraham. Yeah, Jane Roberts. Yeah. I thought that was fantastic, and I tell people, Jane Roberts was the inspiration for Course of Miracles. Jane Roberts was the inspiration for Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Jane Roberts was the inspiration for a lot of physics and a lot of the complicated, for all those people who don't think that this is real in the physics world and in math and science. It is, because she, in her writings and all of the work that she did, you can cite this, you can look into it, it's legitimate. Because there's a lot of people who get so much caught up in the scientific realm. This is something where we're beginning to shift. We're beginning to take science and look at how science and consciousness connect.
Well, so this is really, I'm thrilled that you said that, because this is about exploring a consciousness that's evolving, right? And so we're finally starting to realize that consciousness is a thing that can be measured. It is an energy, and it is something real that we're just scratching the surface of, and finally
it influences everything. I mean, at its most basic, it's influencing my perspective. So no matter what I say or do or what I'm experiencing, it's all done from my point of view. So if I get that, then I'm kind of free, but it's shaping everything that I'm perceiving. It has an incredible, complete influence over me, and I don't think it's limited to that. And I think the other thing that's been coming up that's very helpful is collective consciousness. So this is one of the things that happens for children or young adults who are developing intuition. Who are you with? Who are the people that you're hanging with? Are they fostering that? Right. Are they raising questions?
And in most cases, it's not. See, your situation was very unique, and that was extraordinary. And I think, Lee, in my opinion, that is why there's no ego when you give a reading to someone. It's beautiful, because we do get in our own way, and it is a matter of trust. But you have just opened the gates, you allow it, you trust, and there's no opinion. It's not Lee's ego that gets in there. And it's, when I say to someone, you need to speak to Lee, it's always that. It's just beautiful. But people do grow up with that hindrance. It's what connects us, what cuts us off from remembering why we're here or what we know or past lifetime stuff, right? Because of the influence. So people get in the way.
Yep.
So for young kids now, I'm seeing, working with them, that they are staying connected, or they're connecting to the consciousness. But go on with that.
Well, one of the things that was an example of it, I was with a client, and they had a 3-year-old son there, and the son's talking, and we're having a meal, and it's lovely. We're all eating our pasta. And all of a sudden, I could tell something was happening with him. And I said, "So where are you now?" He goes, "I'm in the place before." And I said, "Where's the place before?" He said, "That's before I came into mommy's belly." And I said, "Okay, fine. Who got you to mommy's belly?" Grandma did. So he knew about this woman's mother, even without, or people that have passed. So then I said, so what was before that? And at this point, I have to shut down the parents.
Yes.
They were all like, they're like, what the hell is this all about? Like, what's going on? And oh my God, and I said, let's just relax. Let's enjoy this. So he goes, oh, he said, I like 50s music. And I said, okay, great. So what are you doing? So it's in the 50s. He said, yes. He goes, I asked him, what are you doing? He said, I build houses. I said, not for you. Is anybody here in the room that you remember? Mommy. I said, oh, good. What's mommy to you? We're married.
Oh, I just say,
Yeah, we've been married for 9 years.
Again, that's a past like that.
And this is common.
It's very common. I want to say
Common. And explain that. Explain that, all of the naysayers. Explain. What do you think the kid's having some kind of psychotic episode? Really?
Listen, I can tell you, like, I have 2 grown boys now, but I have stories. You probably have stories. I mean, I'll tell a brief story, but I've had many of these over the years. But okay, so back, let's see. So my son he was in a car. It was a little over a year, and he's
Andrew.
This is Andrew.
Your older son.
This is my older son. So now he's 28. So we're going back. Okay. So I was not familiar. I was in the corporate world at that point. I mean, I was always open. I was always spiritual, but I didn't know what I knew now. And we're driving down the highway on Route 80, and he starts telling me how God erases your memory. And so, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Really?
And he's like, going on, and he's saying, yeah, so, every time, like, when we're here, we would remember things from before, but, he's talking in a toddler.
Yeah.
Right. And, but he was very articulate then. And I kept saying, what do you mean? Well, we're here. We're here a bunch of times. We're here before. And I'm like, where did you hear this? And I'm going, he's not even, I don't even let him watch TV really at that point, but I'm saying, did you see this on TV? No. And he just kept saying, I just know.
I love it.
And your memory gets erased. And I just know. And finally I'm like, how do you know? As I'm trying not to wreck the car during this conversation. Truly, because I'm like all freaked out. And he goes, I know from God.
I love it.
And if you didn't get your memory, I mean, paraphrasing, but basically, if your memory wasn't erased, you don't want to come back here again.
Oh,
right.
And I was like, okay, then. And that was one of many things. And both Mike
nails it. That nails it. Because,
okay, the past
I mean, even for myself, I don't know if I could have stated it so articulately.
I was really like,
yeah, it really is like,
and that was the beginning. And it went on to many. We had an Archangel Michael thing happening in the bedroom that everyone apparently saw, but me. And why didn't I see it? What's the matter with me? I can't see this stuff. So yes, so these are really, they're so open.
This is always happening around us. This is always occurring, and people can either choose to be part of it or they don't.
Right.
What would you recommend to parents, right? Because this is the reason, right? So how you want to raise the consciousness, want to help people understand that with these kids who are coming in now, or if your child says something like that, because you come from a supportive family.
Yeah.
What would you say to?
It's just like Joseph Campbell with everything else. It's follow the bliss of the child.
That's great. Yes. I mean, right. You just roll. I feel like, did you do that with your kids? You just kind of went, okay. That's cool.
You want to really,
you don't want to say it's not
kill the spirit of a child, control the hell out of it, and set expectations that are about you and not them. So what I mean by that, there's so much that where parents are, they haven't fulfilled something and they want the child to do the thing that they haven't done, which is going to be part of the legacy anyway. But they put that pressure on it. So like for example, let's say that the child is interested in something connected to spirit. Maybe they're connected to crystals. But I have crystals. I don't play with the crystals. They don't even, and let them determine. This is another thing. Let them understand what that is to them. I remember I was up in Cape Cod once and I saw this one. This is back in the 80s. I saw this grandmother and she has her hand over her like 5-year-old granddaughter's, hand as they're going over crystals. And she's saying to the granddaughter, okay, honey, which one? Which one? So she's connecting. She's acting as a kind of like a surrogate of sorts of support. And the child's hand is going through. And the child goes, this one. She goes, that's right. and she got sick.
Cool.
So
Yeah. Well, I think people are more open these days to like younger parents.
yeah.
Well, I think that's beautiful, the fact that the grandmother...
That is.
Yeah, my mother's like there on that.
Yeah,
she's
but in
there
the
on
80s too, that's very rare. I mean,
that made me like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's advanced.
Yeah, that was really that really kind of went, oh, all right. Because when this is something that is very true, whatever the power or whatever the authority in any circumstance is doing influences all the participants.
Right, like it's
and beliefs.
right. Well, and it's like how you had a grandmother. They said, I had a grandmother that ran around, or just an everyday conversation, always said, "Well, my angels told me this, and my angels told me that," and we grew up going, "Okay, grandma's angels are telling her."
Yeah,
It didn't seem odd.
yeah,
It was just what happened.
yep.
I mean, I went with it.
Yeah, so I have family members who see, fairies, see little like critters, and that's part of Ireland. That's part of their culture. And there in Ireland, they don't mess around with that. They don't treat that lightly.
Yeah, right.
You screw with that, you're really entertaining a bad thing. And of course, again, cultures vary. Everybody's got their own thing about what matters to them. And, it could be Judaic, Christian something, or it could be whatever it is. But there's a lot of thought that goes into that, and a lot of power and intention and a direction that influences every family member. The key about spirituality is such a personal experience that people all need to relate, or it's helpful for them to figure out their own path. What is your path? So if you're looking at a child, the child may have some kind of intuitive functioning connected to animals.
That's right.
Right, we've got that, right? Yes. Music, animals, they may have something where they connect to spirit through writing. They may connect to spirit through sculpture. They may connect to spirit through drawing. Whatever it is, right? That's their meditation. So art, design, math, science, whatever, isn't just something that we're learning. It's a form of a meditation, because whenever our consciousness is directed in some powerful intention, that's meditation. Meditation isn't just sitting there and doing these poses and being
out. Meditation could be exercise.
Somebody's idea.
Right, exactly.
So that brings it back to the mandala.
Yeah,
I think that's great, because I think that we're going to take a look at some of the mandalas. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
But everything has meaning. The shape, the color, everything that comes to you. And then you get a meaning to each one of them that just will blow anyone away. It's incredible. Like, people can look through hundreds of them, and the one they relate to, you read the meaning or you tell them the meaning, and they're blown away.
It's perfect for them. Yeah.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about the mandala, or how that comes to you? Do you get the pieces? Do you get the color? Do you get the design?
Well, there's been two really big points of interest. One was a lucid dream that I had that was in my 20s, late 20s. So I'm continuing to do the kind of, I end up getting a degree in art from Pratt Institute, and then that kind of was connected to my love of spirograph and Etch-a-Sketch. It just took that idea and geometry, just took it into a whole other realm. Now I'm doing it professionally, but as a commercial artist. So I'm really in the field of all of that, so I have this dream. And in this dream, I have this, and it was so vivid, I can still see it today. So here this wall that's in front. It's like a looks like a battlement, kind of like you would like a fortress. So there's this castle wall in the front, turrets. There's castle wall that goes back, and then there's a field in the middle of it. And I went, oh, what is this? And in the middle and the front are three images projecting all of the great leaders, like Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and a cast of thousands. So all of those are flashing in the front, and then behind this is this green field. And what would happen is I would have a thought, and then the thought would then manifest as a physical form popping out of the field.
Wow.
I'm having a thought.
Wow.
Then flowers would pop out of the field, or doves would pop out of the field, or a crystal would pop out of the field, or a tree, or something else. But then I had this friend, very close to. And I was like, what does he look like? What does he look like? And then this image, this sacred geometric image, which is kind of like a triquarta, if anybody knows what that is, or maybe Led Zeppelin fans out there.
Now you're dating yourself.
So it pops out, and it was so wet and liquidy, and then I started drawing it. And I drew it and drew it and drew it. I rendered it on the computer. I rendered it by hand. I did all sorts of stuff with it because I felt like it was very much like Close Encounters when they were building the tower, the whatever Devil's Tower, because they had that flash. I just felt that there was something in this. So, and then I showed it to him, and he really enjoyed it, and he loved it. And then then what I was doing is, then I started doing medicine wheels. I started doing medicine wheels where I would take an image of a medicine wheel, I put crystals on it and an affirmation on it, and I would say to people, just shove that under your bed. This is for you. Just shove that under your bed.
Right.
And I did that for a while, and then I kind of put that on the back burner for quite a bit. And then a friend of mine had. I had gone through a really rough patch, and a friend of mine had said, I'm going to help you. He had cancer. He was really sick. He goes, when I die, I'm going to help you. Well, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I left his wake, and I'm on 78 for anybody who knows that highway. And immediately an image popped up in my right, and that's my logo. So my logo that I use is that, and that logo image that I have, I found out 2.5 years later, that logo image matches the description of Atlantis to the T. In fact, if you lay that on top of the Atlantis of Mauritania, wherever the hell the descriptions were from Plato's uncle, I think, described them to him, that is perfect in its match.
That is fantastic.
Wow.
I didn't know this story.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That was.
Yeah. I have 2 images now. I have that image and I have another one. So I meet this fellow psychic, and he looks at the image of the one that I'd done for my friend, and he goes, well, I can tell you who that is.
Huh.
I can tell you what they are through that image. I went, well, shoot, tell me. He goes, no, this isn't done intuitively, just intuitively. He said, it's through the image. He nailed it. Well, he got their behaviors, he got their problems, all.
Oh my God, that's what I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't think
got a lot.
Yeah,
it's amazing because I've seen these who are.
No, I know. I've seen that too.
Themselves connected at all, and I remember one in particular. They wanted to buy something for somebody who had MS.
Yes.
And then they looked through all of them, and they just were like, "This is beautiful." I'll take this.
Yeah.
And he read it, and it was created. You had created.
I created the person.
There's no accidents. This is stuff.
So it is really pulling them in.
It's the energy.
Do you get the message first, or do you get the image first? Or
I get the image first, and the message is kind of, in music, the libretto usually determines the score. But in this particular thing, you could say that the affirmation is found within the image, and the image is found within the affirmation. But the image is much more than... So this is where the sum is greater than the whole of its parts, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. This is the collection of all of those different interpretations. So if you were to do an image and really give it justice, you'd have to do it in all the languages that have ever existed. Because it is all the languages.
So
I have done from different family groups, from the I think from the big principles like Arabic, Russian, Mandarin, English, and I forget the other ones, but there's some there's an African one. But those languages cover a big chunk of the world anyway, but those symbols represent that. And this person was able to tell about this guy through the drawing and nailed it. And he goes, "You're onto something." And I remember,
why are you?
Yeah, right. That's understandable.
He goes, "You're onto something," and he goes, "Run with this." And then we talked about it, and immediately I had this shock of electricity, and I just stood up and I started jumping around because I had so much excitement about it. I could barely contain myself. And that's how
very cool. That's amazing. Yeah. So, that's the sacred geometry part, and
Yes.
then wept in there with the psychic.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
so maybe we would like to share some.
Yeah, that's what I was just.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Who you were.
Okay,
But I don't great. So,
So there's you mean talking about like now?
well,
yeah. Do you want? What should we have? You want to do a little channeling or a little predictions, whatever you want to.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think it really makes sense. We're just gonna
A little reading. Yeah.
just as a general reading, and we're just gonna look at the whole bigger picture, if you would, and then we'll drill into the specifics.
Okay.
So
Everybody, buckle up.
here we go.
Because here we go.
For some time now, and people have becoming aware of what doesn't work for them. I don't like that person. I don't like that idea. I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't like that. Now, what they're doing is they're looking at the separation of this idea, and they're caught up in the separation of it, but they're not looking at the causality of what's causing them to be that way. This is where it gets really interesting. Most of the time, way back when, people wouldn't even spend the time to do this because it wasn't important enough for them to bother. So what is driving the mechanisms of conflict? Understanding that this means more to them than they realized. What does that ultimately lead to? Transformation.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So we can slice this however you want. We could get into the good and bad and whatever of it, and the Lord knows I have feelings about that. But that's not what really matters here. What matters is it's happening for a reason.
That's right.
Now, it's just not about people. So there's this. When a group of people, this is covered in the set material, and I think it's true. Let's say that you have a whole population that's in trouble. They're angry, they're upset, they're frustrated, they're starving, they're miserable. And then this happened in Haiti. You get an earthquake. You get another earthquake.
That's right.
You get a storm. You get a catastrophe. You get a hurricane.
Yeah.
Why? Because the energy is pulling. The conflict is not limited to. People think of that their thoughts just are contained within their own mind and they don't do anything. That's not true. It influences everything. You have one person walk into a room, it can shift the entire energy of the room.
Right.
Well, and it's the collective consciousness. And I think I know where you're going with this, but the earth has her own consciousness. And it's all connected. Yeah, it's part of it. And what you're hitting on, I mean, a lot of people don't know that, Lee, but that is so important and so true to explain. So, and
yes, she's like, okay, you restless people, we're going to take that and I'm going to discharge that for you. That's why we always do grounding, because the earth can handle it.
Yes.
So everybody is like, the whole meditation on a tree, and roots go down, and I grow up, and then I kind of grow up from the things that work, and I let go of the things that don't work, and I ascend into my awareness and whatever. So that meditation, which has many different interpretations, is based on that, but it's connected to the earth.
Yeah.
So the earth can handle it. But what the earth is about to do it's about what's the shake it off, right?
Yeah.
It's about to shake it off, shake it off. We are going to have some rumblings, and it's shaking off the energy, right?
Yes.
We got Vesuvius going on. We've got tectonic activity going on. We have the whole thing between California and Japan happening. We already had something happen in Japan. We had the Japan markets, the bond markets collapse, and that kind of is going to lead to some stuff later on. So we have all of these different kinds of things going on, and the earth is feeling it, and the earth is going to discharge weather patterns, etc. And then that's the whole basis of King Arthur and the Round Table. The king and the lad are one. That was a description.
Yeah.
Because at the end, when he's miserable and Guinevere has left him for Lancelot, and he's sitting there in misery, what happens? The whole town, the whole country is in poverty. The whole country is completely desperate in famine. Because not that he was that himself, but it just shows the integration between the two. So we are learning through our adversity what does and doesn't work. And at some point, no soul is forever ignorant. There will be a point where people are going to recognize they have more in common than they don't. And at that point, it flips. Right. And now it flips on the heels of an awareness that is so possibly poignant that it is so, undeniable, that it motivates them to move forward. So every great growth is often preceded by a conflict.
I think that also in the shift that we're all aware of, or a lot of people are becoming more aware of right now, and that's why it's so important that we bring this information forward on how to navigate this conscious awareness. This has been going on this planet for a while, and I think humanity as a whole has passed the test.
Yeah.
While we're seeing challenges and we're seeing the negativity and the rumblings of the earth, it's a cleanse. And I think that we are over the hump. And I think that what comes at the ends of that is love and light and a different humanity, because we have people don't want World War III now. People don't, and there's more of that consciousness wanting good over evil.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we see governments faltering and because that old energy is fighting to stay in, but
right.
Yeah,
That's our word. No.
And there's a point where fear collapses on itself. So fear actually becomes afraid of its own self and its own capabilities, and at that point, it no longer has any power. So, in other words, the neurotic ends up slicing their own throat or falling down the staircase, escaping their own fear states. It's like the thing itself is eventually the thing that solves the problem.
Yes.
We're looking at this as something we have to solve from the outside, but this is really an internal problem that needs to be resolved from the inside through the process and understanding of it through their own direct experiential however they process this. And that is how a person learns. I can tell somebody, this is why when doing readings, sometimes I don't want to really tip my hand here because I'm robbing them of the opportunity to learn for themselves. I can encourage them. We can talk about probabilities. But when somebody comes in and gives somebody the answer to a problem, they rob them of the opportunity to process and understand how to get there themselves. And we don't do that. We don't want to do that. That's kind of codependent, and also it's controlling in a way, because it's saying that I don't have the patience to wait for this person to work through the thing. But life has its own timeline, right?
Yes.
The seasons change, right? But, nature never hurries, but everything is accomplished.
That's right.
That's right. Be coming into fall, right?
Yeah.
Nature's already in full gear, and all of the trees are beginning to kind of pull back on their nutrients from the leaves. It's already happening. It's getting ready for winter, and off we go. So there's a season and a place for things. There's a timing for things. We're on the end of the 80-year cycle. This is very common for us in our society. Every 80 years, we go through this thing where we reinvent ourselves. As we discover that we needed to create a space, like we were talking earlier, of allowing ourselves the discovery of something we don't know, so that because we don't know what we don't know. So if we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to discover what we don't know, we'll continue to circle back to what we do know. And then out of our fear and our defensiveness, we will then be militant about that idea. Right?
And humanity is in a space where we are in a space of not knowing as a collective.
Yes, and that's so great. Like I'll be with somebody and they'll say, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do," and I'll say, "Great,
right?
Great. You don't know. Yeah, that means you have opportunities.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Do
you have anything anything coming up that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I do see so we've got some big storms coming up in the Caribbean that'll be coming up this fall. We already know this from some of the NOAA and what they've been talking about. We definitely have tectonic activity that's going to express itself that will be coming across the Pacific Rim.
I was going to say that's
more like the California area, then all the way over to Japan. That's coming up, but we're in a state of rapid change.
Yes.
Rapid change.
for sure.
So languages is changing. Like we have a whole subculture of language going on. We have things happening in music that are really beginning to change, where music is becoming much more, it's about the texture of the music, not so much just the tonality of the music. We're getting into a thing now where people have lost their minds connected to fashion. So fashion is coming to, we're getting to a point where we have to really like sit down and start getting more creative, because the frustration that's coming, this is really another thing that I'm noticing. People are all trying to cash in on their ideas. And the problem with that is that they're not investigating the idea far enough to give it the kind of merit that it deserves before you move forward with it. So they're trying to do things creatively. Well, some designers even talk about this before they've let it really set.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
art and creativity takes time. Right. You got to really be with it. And if you're not doing it because it's something that you really feel important and valuable to yourself, then you're doing it for the money. And in that case, you're not doing it for the art. And if you're not doing it for the art, then you're not going to get the same result. You just aren't. You're going to get the thing that's financially driven, and it'll become about the money, but it won't become, not that. And then the real money will never be made.
That's right.
That's the whole key here. People think, oh, you know, I have to kind of launch this thing prematurely. I ought to get this going. But it isn't ready. It's not going on. And even again, like we were saying with society is in this kind of reinvention. It's going to take some time. But then when it does, we already know, we talked about this, holistics are in an uptick.
Yeah.
Mind-body connectedness is coming in more and more and more. Physics is getting into a whole state of array, you know, with the E8 system, the theory of everything, looking at the consciousness unit as the CU as the fundamental building block of our reality, where every single thing from their perspective is taking these these Planck length, these simple, teeny little tiny objects that formulate our reality, and they're all driven by consciousness, and they're done so collectively. So we're in a state where physics, consciousness, spirituality are all converging. They're all connected to the same wheel, and everything always goes to the center. And the center you could call all that is, Gala, the God concept, whatever you want to call it. That is where we're all heading, and it's happening fast. And what's going on is, because the stakes are so high, the conflict is becoming greater, because everybody's jonesing to get to the middle of this thing, and anything that doesn't fit their idea is becoming increasingly disagreed with.
Okay, so there it is, folks.
There it is. How is that?
Yeah, I mean, that about sums it up. It's a lot. It's a lot to process, a lot to digest.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny to listen to that. Yeah.
No.
I think that we're, with everything said, I think that we as a society need to look more to the God within, realizing how we are connected, and those of us who are aware of this need to just hold that space and that light, so what's coming up we can get through. And I really do believe that humanity is coming through this. I believe that it is, as crazy as it is, because we're near the end of this times. But with everything that is coming up, do you have any what is it that you want to leave people with in your work to help them either make the changes in life, or what is it?
You already know everything that you need to know to do whatever you need to do.
And that, vividly.
You already have everything that you could possibly want or desire to do whatever you want to do. Whatever it is that's really meaningful to you. You already have. It was part of your contract. It's part of your deal. Your key is to remember yourself. Your key is to remember that. And all of the great answers are not outside you. Every single time that you put something outside of you over yourself, you betray yourself, you end up having a codependent relationship with the universe, and you're going to end up feeling like crap.
Okay. That's it.
Because if you're not enough, I mean, I really think of it from a relationship standpoint, or anything. If I'm not enough, why should anybody else treat me as if I'm enough? Right. I set the tone. I set the standard.
Okay, it's fine.
Lee, thanks for sharing all this.
Yes, Lee, it was great.
It's amazing. Yes, well, of course we'll have you back.
Yeah,
I drink about a lot more.
Absolutely.
So
Next time we'll get to him shadowing.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think he was a little bit there.
No, I don't that was yes.
I think we
Sometimes
we'll bring people in.
We'll bring people.
Yes, we'll have we do some live. Yes,
So
yes.
that's specific.
Because
Yes.
Lee, full disclosure, did come in and read all the crew here and everybody before we even started.
I'm wondering if the camera's on because they're all our little shots.
They're all fine now. Okay. This guy told me. So yeah, next time, we would love that. We can have people writing questions or however we want to do it.
Yep.
Yep.
Until next time, then.
All right. Thanks for joining us.